about these pressures on our families. And so when this started happening last week, I started to get really worried about the financial pressures. Most, abuse and neglect comes from, not intention, right? I mean, it's because of pressure, financial pressure specifically on families who are feeling like they can't make ends meet. And they have all these needs of their family. They're feeling like there is a lack of justice, or there's, they're not able to make ends meet, and they're working 2 and 3 jobs. And so now these jobs are going to be gone, or the hours that they're going to get are going to be reduced. The pressure that already exists within our families and underserved communities has now gone up exponentially. And the ripple effect, we're going to see that with our young people, our kids who are home, and either in childcare or not or whatever, and our elderly. And so, Reynolds, I know there's all these economic, right, and political implications, but there's also just this sense of I don't know. I just feel like we need to be thinking, praying, helping, supporting, and acknowledging that we're going to see some really heavy and difficult stories come out of this time. And so I'm basically making a statement because it's been on my heart this whole time we've been talking. Is there anything we can do there?
Well,
and
you,
if, we should just
that
acknowledge it.
compassion. And I think you're right. I think it's important to not paint this over with or look through it with rose-colored glasses, or sugarcoat it, to use a couple of metaphors. But this could be really difficult for a lot of people, and it already is taking a financial toll on people. It's already taking a psychological toll and a health toll. I mean, there are people dying from this right now, and it is important to recognize that. So I appreciate the truth and the honesty about that, and I think the faith community does need to attend to that reality. And you were talking earlier about both ands, and one of the both ands within the faith community that we hold together is that we have faith and we have hope. And we come together and share that with each other through prayer. I've been a part of multiple prayer groups since this started. The church that I go to, Mount Level Missionary Baptist Church, we had a prayer line on Sunday morning, and it was so nourishing to be in fellowship with my community even though it was virtual. And, there have been multiple groups who have organized prayer. So I've been grateful for that. But I think that as we move forward, there's a combination. I think if we lean too heavy on the side where we write a lot of this off, and we say we just need to have faith and not be afraid, I think there's a danger to that. But I also do think that fear is dangerous when it leads to violence toward each other, or violence to ourselves or our family members. And in times like that, we can take comfort. And in my faith, personally, I take comfort in the reality that as a Christian, I believe that Jesus came and he was with us through our suffering. He bore our burden. And that is a comfort to me. And so I think we take it one day at a time, and we continue to walk forward in both faith, hope, and all those three virtues: faith, hope, and love. And it's different. Love is different now when we're practicing social distancing, but we can continue in creative ways to love our neighbors through this.
Thank you. I think that's great. And I think we're going to be putting up that website. I think this would be really important for any families, regardless of circumstance. If the pressure gets to be too much, it's insurmountable, or you do feel hopeless, there are organizations that are responding to that. I don't know, everyone has sort of their own faith walk, but leaning into that in this time now more than ever. But those pressures should not come out, and compound the impact on our the least of us, right, are most vulnerable, those whose voices are often overshadowed. So I'm sort of kind of talking to our listeners, like if you feel like you're on that edge because this is like something you didn't expect 2 weeks ago, and now you feel like, I don't know what I'm going to do, and you do feel hopeless. Thank you, Reynolds, for giving us kind of the outlet, and we will provide some resources. Rob, it's recity.org, right?
ReCityNetwork.org.
Right. Please go there. I mean, there are places you don't have to react and respond in a harmful way to yourself or to others. There's a way to sort of see this and find the hope, right? And to see your way out of this. And it could be hard, but there are options.
Yeah, everything that Reynolds has just shared, really we're following Reynolds' lead when it comes to mobilizing the faith community to love neighbor right now. So on ReCity's website, you've just heard from a business leader, a faith leader, and a nonprofit leader. We're going to have resources available from each of those sectors on a single page so that you can really see what it looks like to holistically engage our community right now. And so Reynolds and Durham Cares' team will be, as they update their resources, that'll be reflected on our website. And so it'll take you straight to them as they're really redefining proximity right now. So, yeah, Reynolds, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. We are going to be praying for you, for your health, but also praying for you and the work that you're doing, that you would continue to be able to lean in and further your important work that you don't have the luxury of stopping right now, right? As our other guests don't as well.
I know. It's the good work. I love that. # do the good work. Man, our people are doing some great work. And I'm honored to have had the opportunity to have these conversations, and the little bit that we're able to do to get the word out where we can has been a real gift. So thank you. Thank you, Reynolds. Get better, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
All right, friend.
All right,
Take care.
Thank you for everything you're doing. All right. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
When I think about how to translate this out and maybe leave it as like a final encouragement to our listeners, right? This is going to feel weird, but the analogy that jumps into my head is how relevant like this story of the Titanic is, if you can believe that. Like it's going to go somewhere.
He had a great analogy for this, and I've been waiting the whole podcast for this analogy.
But listen, I think it's appropriate, right? So when we think about the Titanic, we think about when that ship was sinking, who went first, Jess? Who went first into the lifeboats? No, I'm asking.
Kids,
the kids,
the wives, or women.
Kids and the ladies were first on the boat. But here's a side of that I don't think we talk about that makes it relevant for justice, right? Also, who was in that boat?
Musicians?
Right?
No, I'm kidding. They were the last ones.
Well, they were the privileged and the powerful. You better believe they got first access onto those boats because they played that card. And so we tell that story as a tragedy of loss of life, which it is. We don't tell it as a story of injustice. We don't, right? But when I think about drawing the connection between who suffered most in that situation to who's suffering most right now in this crisis, it's the same demographic. It's those without privilege, those without power, the most vulnerable and the most marginalized amongst us. And here's how that analogy continues to be relevant, right? We know that 1,500 people died when that ship sank. 700 people, though, made it into lifeboats, right? So men, women, children, 700 of them made it into the lifeboats. The 1,500 people in the water all died, but they didn't die because the boat sank. They didn't drown. They froze.
They were holding on to icebergs. I saw the movie.
They had life preservers. Except for Leonardo DiCaprio, he did not have a life preserver. Everyone else had a life preserver. So they were floating in the water. They didn't die because the boat sank. They died because the 700 that were in half-filled lifeboats didn't turn around. If you have the privilege of listening to this podcast, you need to pause and identify which category are you in right now. Because Jess, you and me, we're in the lifeboat category. Are we in a lifeboat because we have a level of privilege? Because honestly, every single one of our guests have a level of privilege where they're in the lifeboat too. But they're answering the question, what do I do? Am I steering that lifeboat away from my vulnerable neighbors? or towards them? Am I getting proximate? And I think that, yes, practice social distancing. Yes. And literally Reynolds was practicing it as we were speaking to him. I'm not discouraging social distancing. It is incredibly important. And that's one way we love our vulnerable neighbor, but it's not the only way. Here's what we shouldn't do. We shouldn't insulate ourselves from the needs of the vulnerable around us, because there are still ways that we can turn our boat around.
You have to be positive in the face of this stuff, right? And be realistic. What you just shared is so true.
Both, yeah.
And we are in the lifeboat, but it's our choice to go to safety and not hear our friends and neighbors behind us that were in the water, or it's our choice to turn around and say, I have room for you.
If you have a choice, what are you going to do to love the people that don't?
Yeah.
That's it.
Good one, friend. I'll see you in 2 weeks.
I'll see you soon.
Thanks so much for listening to Just, a part of the Capital Broadcasting Podcast Network in partnership with ReCity and Coastal Credit Union. In the spirit of sharing, if you like what you've heard, tell a friend about the show and give us a 5-star rating and review.
Many thanks to DJ P-Dog and producer Low Key for producing the music for our show. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.